Close your eyes for a moment and picture ancient Egypt. What do you see? Golden temples shining in the desert sun. Pyramids rising proudly against the horizon. Pharaohs draped in fine linen, ruling over their people with divine authority. This is the Egypt of movies and museums, elegant, orderly, mysterious. But the truth? The truth was far stranger, dirtier, and far more dangerous than the romantic image we carry in our minds. Because behind the towering pyramids and majestic statues was a world where ordinary Egyptians lived in mud brick houses that baked in the sun, where sickness lurked in the very waters that gave them life, where daily survival depended not only on hard labor, but on appeasing gods they could neither see nor fully understand. Tonight, let's step back more than 3,000 years and walk through the streets, the kitchens, and even the bodies of the people who lived along the Nile. Let's discover what life in ancient Egypt was really like. The first thing you would notice about life here is the river. The Nile was not just a river. It was life itself. Its waters flooded predictably every year, leaving behind rich black soil in which crops could grow. Without it, there would have been nothing but desert. But with life came danger. The same Nile that fed the fields was filled with parasites. People bathed in it, drank from it, washed their clothes in it. And in doing so, they exposed themselves to diseases we now call schistosomiasis, worms that crept silently into their bodies, lodging in their organs. Imagine, the very water that quenched your thirst might slowly destroy your liver, your intestines, or even your fertility. And yet, there was no escaping it. The Nile gave everything, but it demanded a price. Step into an ordinary Egyptian village. The homes were simple, built from mud bricks baked in the sun. The walls cracked easily, and the air inside was often filled with smoke from cooking fires. Animals sometimes lived inside too. Chickens, goats, maybe even a donkey. The streets? Narrow, dusty, and crowded. With no proper sewage system, waste often ended up in the same places where children played and neighbors gathered. Flies swarmed everywhere, carrying filth from one household to the next. Disease, again, was never far away. Tuberculosis, smallpox, even leprosy. The bones of mummies tell us these were part of daily life. And in the heat of the Egyptian sun, where sweat and dirt clung to every surface, infections spread like whispers on the wind. Yet strangely, the Egyptians were also obsessed with cleanliness. They bathed more often than many other ancient peoples, rubbing their bodies with natron salts and scented oils. Priests shaved their heads and bodies to remain ritually pure. Women painted their eyes with kohl, not only for beauty, but to ward off infections. In this land of filth and disease, people clung fiercely to rituals of washing and grooming, perhaps as a way to feel some control over an unpredictable world. Now let us look at food. The diet of an ordinary Egyptian sounds simple at first: bread, beer, onions, and fish. These were the staples of survival. But even food carried hidden dangers. Grain, stored in mud silos, was often contaminated with mold. Bread could be coarse and full of grit, wearing down people's teeth until their gums bled and abscesses festered. Beer was weak compared to what we drink today, but it was safer than water. Children drank it daily. And yet, with every swallow, they also consumed tiny parasites that swam unseen in the Nile's waters. Meat was rare for peasants, though festivals sometimes brought roasted goose or beef. More often, they ate dried fish and lentils. Malnutrition was common. Skeletons of ancient Egyptians reveal stunted growth, anemia, and bones weakened by hunger. Life was not the golden feast we imagine from banquet scenes carved on tomb walls. For the poor, it was a struggle to fill the stomach, day after day. And then there was danger, not just from disease or hunger, but from the society itself. Egypt was a rigidly stratified world. At the top stood the pharaoh, worshipped as a living god. Below him, the priests and scribes, then soldiers, artisans, and farmers. At the very bottom, enslaved laborers and servants. For most Egyptians, there was little chance to rise. Your life was defined by birth. The scribe who learned to read would never plough the fields, and the farmer would never sit in a palace court. The system was built to preserve order, but it also meant generations of people lived and died in the same narrow roles, their names lost to the sands of time. And yet, in this world of inequality, people still found joy. We know from preserved letters that Egyptians laughed at jokes, teased their friends, and loved their families. They played board games, told stories, and danced at festivals. Life was hard, but it was still life. But there were stranger things too. Medicine in ancient Egypt was a curious mix of science and superstition. Doctors understood the importance of some herbs and treatments, but they also prescribed spells, incantations, and strange remedies. If you suffered a stomach ache, you might be given honey mixed with crocodile dung. If you couldn't conceive a child, a priest might whisper charms over you while giving you potions of herbs, some helpful, others poisonous. And childbirth, one of the most dangerous moments of a woman's life, was surrounded by amulets and prayers. Women knelt on bricks to give birth, clutching figurines of protective goddesses. Many did not survive. Neither did their babies. The cemeteries of Egypt are filled with tiny coffins. And yet, perhaps the strangest part of ancient Egyptian life was its relationship with death. Unlike us, Egyptians did not see death as an end. It was simply another stage of existence. Every family prepared for it, saving what little they had for a coffin, for amulets, for offerings that would guide their souls into the afterlife. Even the poorest Egyptians left small trinkets in their graves, hoping for protection. Life was dangerous, dirty, and uncertain. But death was planned, prepared for, and in some ways, embraced. And so, if you lived in ancient Egypt, your days would be filled with contradictions. You would rise with the sun and work in the fields until your back ached. You would eat bread that wore down your teeth and drink beer laced with parasites. You would bathe in a river that both gave you life and slowly filled your body with worms. You would suffer diseases with no cure, yet place your faith in prayers and spells. You would watch neighbors die young, yet believe they were journeying into a blessed afterlife. It was a world both brutal and beautiful, filled with suffering and yet filled with meaning. And perhaps, in that sense, not so different from our own. Thank you for watching and being part of this journey into the forgotten corners of history. If this story moved you, make sure to subscribe and stay with us, because the past still has more secrets to reveal. Watch out for the next part, and don't miss what comes next.